Okay, hi guys. We are going to stutter. We're going to stutter at the beginning of this live. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make grain-free and gluten-free Passover bread. I'm all distracted by the fact that I don't have my my wig on, and instead I have a scarf. But anyways, we're going to make some grain-free and gluten-free bread that I make all the time year-round just because it's really high in protein and has a lot of really good fats in it, and it's low carb, and most of the people in my family do better with less grains than more. So we definitely still have grains in my house, but we do better with this kind of bread than just a regular bread. But also it's great for Passover. Yay! So if you want to be able to have something that you can kind of toast and put butter on, or, you know, have with your eggs or whatever, you can use this. So here I am in my kitchen. We're gonna dive in. I'm super proud of myself because I have somewhere to prop my phone, and because I typed up the ingredients so I don't have to like remember them. Okay, check that out. Look, you can see me. Amazing. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do, can you see my bowl? Yes, you can. Awesome. So the first thing I just want to say is that in general, I never really follow instructions. Hey, Abby. I never really follow instructions generally in all areas of life, but especially when cooking. But for baking, I find that it really matters. And I've tried to make gluten-free bread before, and it never really came out so good. So then recently when I made this one, I said like, okay, hey Abigail. I said, okay, I'm actually gonna follow the recipe, which of course then I tweaked, but I do recommend that you actually follow all of the things. Like you're supposed to put like in a little lemon juice, and I in the past would have been like, oh, who has time for that? But I just decided I do because then it makes everything just come out better. Okay, so but first we're going to do the dry ingredients. So that is, also the recipe, I posted it before and I'll post it again at the end of this. It's a very big batch, like it's basically 2 batches, but I just prefer to make a bigger batch and then freeze half of it, or usually we wind up eating it fast enough anyways, but this does freeze well, so it's fine. But if you look at it and you're like, God, that's a lot of stuff, you can cut it in half. But anyway, so I'm doing the one that I've posted, which is 4 cups of almond flour, and the blanched almond flour. Can you see how that almond flour is? Yay, it's gluten-free. That's right. Okay, it's white. So that's because the almonds were blanched first, as opposed to if you get almond meal, that's when they haven't blanched the almonds, and so the skin is still on. Almond meal is good too, but I wouldn't do it in this recipe because it's not as finely ground, so it acts different. Okay, but as you can see, I'm not like measuring perfectly. I'm kind of just like pouring like that. Okay, I'm counting out as a cup. Okay, and let's see if this is the 4th cup. Yep. Okay, awesome. 4 cups of almond flour. Then 4 tablespoons of coconut flour, because the coconut flour is super duper absorbent. I know I've told you guys that before. But yeah, it is. Okay, so here's my fancy tablespoons. See, I'm even using like measuring things. I never do this. Okay, so 4 of these. 3 and 4. So I guess the compromise is that yes, I do measure, but I'm still not like a maniac about measuring perfectly. I guess that's where I compromise it. Okay, half a cup of flaxseed meal. So if someone asked me, do they have to use the flax? I don't think that it really matters. I don't think it changes the consistency. I think it honestly just makes it look better. Like it makes it look more like a whole grain bread from the color. Can I share the brands of the ingredients? Sure. Although the ones I'm using are not necessarily the brands that I recommend in particular. But I mean, this is the ground flaxseed meal spectrum. I would just, any organic ground flaxseed meal would be fine. But I would say what's more important is keeping your nuts and in general your nut flours, like the almond flour, the coconut flour, in the freezer, because they do go rancid easily. This is the almond flour that I'm using today from Trader Joe's. It's not the best deal, to be honest. It's not. It's like almost like $7 or $8 for this bag. For a long time I was getting it from Costco. They had a good deal there. They weren't carrying it in the last like 2 weeks, so that's why I have that. But you can get some better ones on Amazon, and I will post those links for you at the end. Okay. Okay, so we're off to our flaxseed meal. So salt. So I put in there Celtic sea salt because that's like my favorite kind of salt, but any kind of salt you have will work. But if you're trying to be health conscious and you want to like make every bite count more, I would recommend either using Celtic sea salt, pink Himalayan salt, or any kind of or like Redmond's real salt. All of those salts are unrefined and have a lot of naturally occurring minerals in them. I'm using my pink Himalayan. Can you see that? You can see that it's pink a little bit. Should I bring it closer? Whee! Ah! I spilled some. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay. Anyway, sometimes I'm a little like light on the salt because, I don't know. I find, especially because in a lot of recipes I normally will pull out, I won't put as much of the sweetener as it calls for, like when I'm not, obviously the ones that I'm sharing with you are legit my recipes, but often if I'm reducing the sweetener in other recipes, I always want to make sure I reduce the salt too so it doesn't come out weird. Okay, so that's the salt, and here is the baking soda. I don't have any baking soda. I do have baking soda. I thought it said baking powder. Okay, here's my baking powder. It's really important that your baking powder doesn't have like clumps in it, because otherwise it'll taste really nasty, like when you bite into a clump of baking soda. I don't know if any of you have experienced that before, but I have. It's gross. Okay, I'm just kind of mixing it. Is there anything else I need to add that's dry? No. Okay, so that's my dry everything. Can you see in my bowl? There you go. I'm just mixing it up because once I add the wet ingredients, I prefer that at least all the dry ingredients are relatively spread out. So there we go. So I know this is like a little less exciting than cookies, but I also noticed that it's very practical. And even though I didn't do the rest of the video, this obviously I'm doing it now, when I shared just the recipe, I saw a lot of people actually made it. And so I thought I'd do the video to help even more people make it. Because again, it's less exciting, but it is very practical. So sometimes it's valuable just to be practical. Okay. So of course I'm not going to do another bowl because who has time for that? Let me see if I tilt this a little better, if you can see in the bowl better. Is that better? I'm just pushing it to the side, see? And then I'm doing my eggs. Oh, I forgot my eggs. Let me grab them. Okay. I'm back. So again, if you are really careful about checking your eggs, good for you. I know, I mean that in a nice way, not in an obnoxious way. I just, like, I've been using these eggs for 5 years. I don't think I've ever found a blood spot, so I'm comfortable just kind of cracking them and looking. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about blood spots, it's that because I keep kosher and several of the members of this group keep kosher, and part of the kosher laws is not to have blood in your eggs. So you're supposed to check them. So I'm happy just to do it like that and dump them right in. Okay, so we're doing 10 eggs. Again, this is a big batch, but also because it's gluten-free, gluten is one of the ingredients in bread that makes it like stick together. And so when you don't have that, all these other alternative breads or baking stuff, generally you need more eggs because that is the binding instead. Okay, how many did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh no, I need one more. Sorry. Okay. Someone else asked me that if they could exchange it for like the flax meal stuff, or I don't know, the meal, like some combination. I've never done it, but I think that it would probably work. So if you do that, then you can let us know if it worked for you. Boom. Just banged it on the bottom. Hi, Miriam. Okay, so there's our 10 eggs. Boom. So you can see why it's so high in protein, this whole thing. There's a lot of eggs, which obviously have a lot of protein in them, and there's even still protein in the coconut and in the almonds. Okay, so now 2 teaspoons of honey, 2 of oil, and 2 of lemon juice. So I'm going to do tablespoons, I'm sorry. I'm going to do the oil first, just so that it lines the thing so that the honey doesn't get stuck in it. Okay, so here's my 1 tablespoon and my 2 tablespoons. Gorgeous. Oh, the brands you were asking. This is the, hey, Sip! Yay, thanks. It's so fun to be with you too. Okay, so this is the organic extra virgin olive oil from Costco. It is the one that I recommend. A lot of olive oils are not real olive oil because olive oil is more expensive, and so they basically say it's olive oil, but then they just make it canola oil, and they put in a little food coloring and a little flavors. And so unless it's been like third-party tested and verified, you don't actually know if it's really olive oil. But this one has been third-party tested and verified, and so that's why it's the one that I use. Also, it's a really good deal. And also it had Google Express, so it gets delivered to me. Okay, here's my honey. I want to try this next time just with like regular coconut sugar, just because I find honey a little annoying to work with. You know, like it does this, it takes a while to fall. I don't have patience, you guys know that. Okay. And before I stir it, I'll just show you what it looks like in my bowl in case you can't see so well. But if anyone wants to give me a virtual high five or pat on the back, you're invited to, because it's such a big deal for me that I am actually measuring these things. Okay, hold on. Let me flip it around just so you can see what the bowl looks like. See? I just have it separate. That's the stuff. You can see my bowl. Awesome. Yay. High five. Pat on the back. Thanks, Abby. Okay, you're hired. Okay, and my lemon juice. So I have a little lemon juicer thing that I got at the dollar store. Yes, it's plastic, and I'm not like a huge fan of plastic, especially for hot things or acidic things like lemon. But I'm only letting it touch it for a second. It's not like sitting in here for a long time, so I feel more comfortable with it. So I'm just squeezing it in here. Okay, so here's 1 tablespoon. Let's see how much. Okay, that's 1. Do I have to squeeze the other side is the question. No, you did pretty good. Awesome. Okay, 2. It was about half of a good sized lemon. Okay. I could use a fork. I guess I'll just use a fork. Okay. And I'm going to scramble. First, I'm going to scramble the eggs and the liquid ingredients like this. Since Abby says you can see, I don't have to like pick it up anymore. I did ask, you're right. If anyone has any other questions while I'm stirring, I'm happy to answer. What else? Someone recently posted in a group and asked if this group leans paleo, and I thought that was a really good question. And the answer is no. For those of you who are wondering, move it over a bit that way. Is that better? Paleo is basically a diet that focuses on a lot of vegetables, a lot of meat, and fruit, and pretty much no grains. So I don't see this group as leaning paleo, but we definitely lean, I definitely lean, just whole foods, and not meaning the store, but just like real food, stuff that you recognize, that your great grandmother would have served. And towards me, like that. Bring the bowl towards me. Do you mean like that? That probably makes sense. You can see better, I bet. You're so interactive. I love it. That basically, if it's foods that your great-grandmother would have recognized or served to her family, that's a really good place to start, and that's pretty much all the kinds of foods that I'm going to be doing with you. Now, granted, I realize as I'm saying that, she definitely didn't make this kind of bread. No one was making, like, almond flour bread 100 years ago. But they did eat almonds and coconuts and eggs and all of that stuff. There's no xanthan gum in here, and she wouldn't have known what that is. Okay, here's my bowl that I'm going to put it into. I'm going to line it with oil. You could also do parchment paper if you want. Not because I have no problem with the food touching the glass, but sometimes it can get stuck to the bottom. If I would have thought ahead, I mean, I planned on actually doing this ahead, and then I forgot. I normally oil the pan first and then actually put the pan in the oven so that the oil can get hot before I pour it in, and it helps prevent it from sticking later. But I didn't do that this time because I was distracted talking to you. Okay, so now I'm just gonna, I just kind of scoop it in, but do you see what the batter looks like? It's like a thick, oh, hold on. It's like a thick, almost like banana bread cake dough type thing. It does not look or feel anything like regular bread. So if that happens to you, don't think you did something wrong. You didn't. You did everything right. And in general, this bread does not taste like bread. Like if you have kids that are bread lovers and you're thinking that you'll give them to this and they won't notice, that's a bad idea. They'll notice. It's really yummy, but you just have to adjust your expectations. You can't be expecting, you know, Wonder Bread or sourdough. One of my friends said she thought maybe she'd tell her kids that it was like an almond cake type thing. Not as in cake like a dessert, but like a rice cake type thing. I thought that was a good idea. So, yeah, it's all about expectations, right? Okay. So, again, can you see, let me move that, the top, how it's pretty bumpy? It's not gonna like magically flatten in the oven. That's not going to happen. So you kind of want to flatten it out as much as you can yourself, or as much as you want. I mean, it doesn't really matter if there's bits that aren't flat, is the truth. It only matters if you care. And that's it. And it's gonna go in the oven now for at 350 for like 30 minutes or so. Basically, when you put a stick in and it comes out clean, you're done. So I'm gonna put it in. I even preheated my oven. And I'm just gonna sit and talk to you guys for a minute and explain a little bit more of like why I think this is really valuable. And if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to take them right now too. So I'm just gonna sit in my chair. Okay, why do I think it's valuable? So, especially some people have asked about that they recently tried to go off like white flour and sugar, and it's super hard for them. And so a couple things on that, I would say, if you're trying to reduce your white flour and sugar, having healthy, yummy foods available makes a big difference, right? And so this is one thing that, you know, it takes, what did it take me? Like, I don't know, 7 minutes to put in the oven, and now I'm pretty much done with it. But that's something also, it has a lot of protein in it. So it's not like a bagel tastes yummy, but then you're hungry like an hour or so later and you kind of like don't feel satisfied, like a little like looking around still. But because there's a lot of good quality protein and good quality fats in this, as you saw from all the ingredients, it actually is filling. Like, it's like a legitimate snack, right? The same way you would like have like a handful of nuts and feel satisfied from that as a snack. Like, that's essentially what you're eating here, right? But you can toast it if you want. And what was the other thing? Oh, and just focusing on getting, if you have, you know, whatever you have in your house. So if you have apples in the drawer and you have green beans that you made yesterday, because I taught you how to make them already. If you didn't finish them in one sitting, which is very easy to do. But having that available helps. So I hope this was really helpful. Is there anything else that I wanted to add about why gluten-free bread is good? I mean, a lot of people have celiac. A lot of people have, or even if they don't have celiac, a lot of people just have a hard time digesting grains. So not everyone. Some people do really well on them, assuming that they're prepared properly. But if you're someone who notices that, like, after you have a lot of bread that you get tired or you get bloated, maybe it would be valuable for you to, you know, try for like a week or so, or even a few days, just to go off of it and see how you feel. And then if you see that you're doing better, then having these kinds of alternatives can be really helpful. So, also for Passover, when you feel like maybe there's a lot of limitations, now you have another option. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And if you have any more questions, feel free to post them below and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay. Okay, bye.